The town of Marrow Pines lay nestled among quiet swamplands in southern Louisiana. Moss-draped cypresses bowed over muddy waters. The humid air carried the faint buzz of insects. Life moved slowly there. Kids rode bikes on uneven sidewalks. Neighbors gathered on porches to watch sunsets bleed into the bayou. Mostly, folks rose early with the sun, lulled by the gentle rhythms of small-town life. But on a Wednesday in mid-June, the townspeople woke to find something entirely unexpected. A carnival had appeared overnight. Thick fog clung to the streets that morning, and when it receded, bright tents and weathered rides loomed on the outskirts of town, where an empty field had stood the day before. A hush followed that discovery, as children and adults gathered at the fence line, gawking at the spectacle. Colorful banners fluttered in a breeze that didn't quite exist. Hand-painted signs announced, "Welcome to Dandelo's Traveling Carnival," in chipped letters. Overhead, a faded Ferris wheel creaked, while a carousel spun slowly to the tune of tinny Calliope music. Yet no operator or carny stood in sight. No clowns or ticket sellers, no carnival hands. The entire place sat eerily empty, the rides running as if by unseen hands. People exchanged uneasy glances. Word spread fast. No trucks or caravans had been seen, no lights or commotion in the night. The reek of cotton candy and fried dough drifted across the damp grass, mingling with morning dew. Children tugged at parents' sleeves, begging to explore. Parents hesitated, sensing something was off. But curiosity and the carnival's allure often overpowered caution in Marrow Pines. By noon, a small crowd formed by the carnival's makeshift entrance. Old placards read, "Tickets," yet the booth was unmanned. Adrenaline pricked the townsfolk's nerves. Should they wait for organizers, or just walk in? A few brave souls stepped through the archway, discovering a wide corridor lined with sideshow tents. Painted advertisements, once vibrant, depicted a bearded lady, a two-headed calf, a monstrous gator. All of them worn, peeling at the edges, looking decades old, possibly older. The ground underfoot felt oddly soft, as if the grass remained wet despite the sun climbing overhead. Wisps of fog still lurked around corners, giving everything a ghostly cast. Someone tentatively approached the carousel. The carved horses spun in slow rotation, Calliope music echoing hollowly from a hidden speaker. Yet no children were aboard. It continued spinning, an endless merry-go-round with empty saddles. Residents whispered speculation. A renegade carnival? Maybe left over from some traveling show decades ago? But how had it assembled overnight in total secrecy? Martha Duval, owner of the local diner, marched in, ignoring her gut's warnings. She was practical, unafraid to investigate a potential scam. The heavy smell of cotton candy led her to a concession stand. Bright pink fluff spilled over metal barrels, but no vendor. She lifted the scoop, sniffed the cotton candy, freshly made, still warm. She poked it suspiciously. Her husband, Joe, at her elbow, said, "This can't be real. Where's the machinery, the sugar?" But all they found were jars of colored sugar half used, the spinning machine whirring on autopilot. The pair retreated, uneasy. The carnival was functional, but deserted. Rides whirred, lights flashed in erratic patterns, and, from time to time, old-timey carnival music crackled over unseen loudspeakers. In the distance, the Ferris wheel turned, seats swaying gently in a breeze. Everyone felt it was an invitation to ride, yet something about the emptiness felt distinctly unwelcoming. Children, however, saw only the spectacle. "Mama, can we try the carousel?" asked a boy named Calvin. His mother, anxious but wanting to soothe her child's curiosity, nodded. She hoisted him onto a prancing wooden steed. The Calliope tune quickened. She stood by, half expecting a ride operator to appear. None did. The carousel circled, and Calvin giggled, delight overshadowing the eerie surroundings. Other kids followed, shrieking with excitement as they hopped on. The parents watched with forced smiles, uneasy. For a moment, it seemed almost normal. Children spinning on a carnival ride, music filling the humid air. But the hush beyond that single attraction felt tangible, like the carnival was watching them from behind faded tent flaps. As afternoon gave way to dusk, fog rolled back in from the bayou, thickening around the carnival. The swirling white tendrils wrapped around tents, obscuring them from sight. A new wave of curiosity overcame the townsfolk. Some decided to leave, unsettled by the deepening gloom. Others lingered, enthralled. They discovered a House of Mirrors tent marked Funhouse, see your reflection in a new light, in chipped neon paint. Families ventured inside, greeted by narrow corridors lined with distorted mirrors. The floor squeaked under old boards. Inside, flickering bulbs overhead cast shifting shadows, contorting their reflections into grotesque shapes. Children squealed with laughter or surprise. Katrina, a local mother, guided her young son Jimmy through the mirrored maze. They laughed at each reflection, her short figure elongated, his skinny arms turned stout. Then they reached a large mirror near the back. Jimmy froze mid-laugh, eyes wide. She found him staring at the reflection. The mirror showed Jimmy, but behind him stood a tall figure. Look! The figure's face was a grin stretched too wide, eyes hollow. There was no one physically behind Jimmy. Katrina saw only empty space. Yet the reflection insisted otherwise. Jimmy's scream cut through the carnival, sending chills down spines. Katrina spun around, but no one was there. Yet in the mirror, that tall figure remained, crouching closer to Jimmy's shoulder, smile growing. Fear stabbed Katrina's heart. She lunged forward, grabbing Jimmy, pulling him away. In the reflection, the figure's long arms twitched as if reaching out to them. The moment they left the mirror's line of sight, it vanished. Their screams alerted other visitors who rushed inside the funhouse. No sign of the figure in the real world, but Jimmy bawled, "He was behind me, Mama! He had a big smile!" Another child insisted she saw it too, a tall silhouette with a clown-like grin standing in the mirror. Panic rippled through the crowd. Some parents hurried their kids out of the funhouse, while braver onlookers stepped to that mirror, studying their own reflections. Nothing odd. The tall figure was gone, if it had ever been there. Yet the tension was unmistakable. The carnival, with its deserted rides and midnight appearance, now revealed a darker side. Word of the funhouse incident spread quickly among Moreau Pines. A few dismissed it as childish imagination. Mirrors can distort illusions, right? But Jimmy's terror felt genuine, and the carnival's origin remained a mystery. Town elders urged caution. The local sheriff, a stoic man named Coulter, visited the carnival grounds at dawn, but found no sign of staff or carnival workers, only silent attractions swirling in the mist. Coulter posted a deputy near the entrance, advising folks to keep their distance until more was understood. Yet many, drawn by the carnival's mystique, kept drifting in. The pastel glow of carnival lights in the thick fog acted like a siren call. By the second evening, the carnival's mood darkened further. A group of teen thrill-seekers decided to test the rides. They found the roller coaster, an old wooden structure that rattled ominously. No one at the controls. Yet somehow, the coaster's chain lift engaged when they boarded. They soared into loops in the darkness, screams echoing. They emerged shaken, claiming the ride felt alive, braking and accelerating with an intelligence of its own. Others explored the sideshow tents. They found battered cages labeled "World's Smallest Elephant" or "Man-Eating Gator," but each cage stood empty. Straw bedding lay about, as if something had been there recently. Some tents displayed dusty mannequins in vintage carnival attire, blank-faced and unawed. Settling. In one tent, the sideshow banners illustrated a shadow man, a figure with elongated limbs and a grin that could swallow souls. The painted face matched the description of Jimmy's mirror figure. Whispers spread. Was the carnival haunted by this entity? Local sightings increased. People reported glimpses of movement behind tent flaps, a shape darting away, or a wide grin peering out. Late at night, passers-by along the carnival's perimeter claimed to see silhouettes drifting through the fog, never leaving footprints. The all-pervasive smell of cotton candy turned suffocating, sweet to the point of nausea. Children woke from nightmares, insisting the tall, smiling figures stood outside their windows, beckoning them to come back to the carnival. Parents locked doors and windows, uncertain of what they faced. Meanwhile, the carnival remained eerily open, the rides never stopping, the lights never dimming, the music always piping faintly. Tragedy struck on the third night. A teenage girl, Carla, slipped away from her house after curfew, lured by the carnival's shining lights. She never returned. Her frantic parents searched the grounds, calling her name among the silent rides, but found only her phone abandoned near the carousel. The horse she'd likely mounted was still in motion, the calliope playing on. No one saw her leave or took her. She was simply gone. Anxious townspeople formed search parties. The sheriff led them, combing the carnival. They found no sign of Carla, no footprints, no item of clothing. As the sun rose, the carnival lay unchanged. The rides spun, lights flickered, but Carla was nowhere to be found. A hush fell over Moreau Pines. Locals whispered that the carnival fed on unsuspecting souls. The overshadowing gloom thickened. Katrina, whose son Jimmy first encountered the mirrored figure, refused to let fear paralyze her. She met with a few determined neighbors, including Martha Duval, to investigate. They pored over old records at the local library, searching for references to carnivals that appear unannounced or legends of Dandelo's traveling carnival. Even the oldest newspapers had no mention. It was as if the carnival sprang from nowhere. Some stumbled upon bayou folklore, stories of a wandering carnival that emerged from fog, offering illusions and wonders, but harboring a malevolent presence that stole children's souls. The legend told of a ringmaster with a grin too wide, leading the unwary into darkness. Could the tall figure be that ringmaster? Jimmy, still shaken, spoke little except to say the figure in the mirror whispered his name. He said I was chosen, Jimmy confessed tearfully to Katrina. She comforted him, but her heart iced over with fear. Chosen for what? That night, more townsfolk vanished. 2 kids sneaking into the carnival after hearing faint laughter, an elderly man who went searching for his missing dog near the carnival perimeter. Their personal items turned up scattered on the Ferris wheel seats or near the haunted house attraction. The community realized the danger was escalating. Determined to strike at the carnival's heart, a group of residents decided to burn it down or dismantle it. The sheriff tried leading a team with gasoline and tools. They marched in at dawn, their footfalls muffled by swirling fog. But every time they attempted to light a torch or smash the rides, something intervened. Strange gusts of wind snuffed out flames. Metal frames seemed impervious to crowbars. The group experienced disorientation, as if the carnival's layout shifted. They ended up back at the entrance, minds spinning. Defeated, they realized normal methods wouldn't work. Meanwhile, the funhouse and its mirror labyrinth stood quietly, almost daring them. Some guessed the mirror figure might be the source of the curse. Katrina, Martha, and a few others hatched a bold plan to confront the entity in the funhouse. They reasoned that the mirror figure was the ringmaster or demon controlling the carnival. If they could break the mirror or dispel the creature, maybe the carnival would collapse. It was a desperate theory, but they had no better option. They armed themselves with flashlights, crowbars, and a shaky resolve. Under the cover of early morning fog, when the carnival seemed less active, they slipped past the rides to the funhouse entrance. The smell of cotton candy stung their noses, rancid sweet. Inside, the corridors mirrored their reflections in grotesque shapes. They navigated carefully, each step echoing. Fear pressed on them like a physical weight. Many had second thoughts, but they pressed on, hearts pounding. At last, they reached the large mirror near the back. The reflection was warped but empty, no figure this time. Katrina readied her crowbar. She was about to smash the glass when the overhead lights flickered violently. The mirror shimmered, and the reflection changed. The tall figure crouched behind them again, grin too wide, eyes two black pits. They felt its presence, cold breath on their necks, even though nothing stood behind them physically. Martha gasped, dropping her flashlight. The figure in the reflection seemed to lunge, arms outstretched. Another man in their group shouted, "Do it now!" Katrina swung the crowbar with all her strength. The mirror cracked with a piercing shriek. Shards fell, reflecting the carnival's swirling light. Instantly, a gust of wind blasted through the funhouse, as if the walls inhaled. The figure in the mirror roared soundlessly. It grins, distorting. The shards on the floor shook. The group huddled together, bracing. A second mirror nearby showed more reflections of the entity, fractal images multiplied. The entire funhouse seemed to quake, illusions dancing on every reflective surface. They smashed more mirrors, smashing frames, fracturing illusions. Each blow unleashed moans from the carnival's depths, the entire structure trembling. In the cracks, they glimpsed fleeting images of missing townsfolk, trapped in mirror reflections, pounding from the other side. Desperate, the group continued hammering, hoping to free them. Outside, the carnival lights flickered chaotically, rides spinning at reckless speeds. The Ferris wheel groaned, the carousel lurched. The thick fog coalesced around the funhouse, swirling like a living entity. A shrill whistle echoed, reminiscent of a calliope gone mad. Inside, Katrina and the others pressed forward, mirror after mirror shattering. At one corner, they glimpsed Carla's reflection, eyes pleading. Katrina swung the crowbar, shattering that mirror. Carla's reflection vanished with a cry. Another mirror revealed two children's reflections, hands pressed to the glass. Smash, gone. With each destroyed mirror, a swirl of intangible shapes fled, dissolving into mist. But the tall figure remained in the main mirror, battered but unbroken. It roared in silent fury. The group advanced. The final blow was delivered by Martha, who shattered the largest mirror with a thunderous clang. A reverberation tore through the funhouse. The structure groaned, mirrors spiderwebbing with cracks, illusions flickering. The figure's reflection exploded into shards, sending a shockwave of cold air. The group stumbled out, half blinded by swirling debris of mirror fragments. Outside, the carnival ride screeched to a halt. The carousel's music died mid-note. The lights flickered once, twice, then plunged into darkness. The entire carnival seemed to sag, as if a puppet's strings had been cut. The fog churned violently, then began to recede, swirling away into the dawn. In that moment, forms appeared in the clearing. Dazed men, women, children, stumbling out from behind tents and rides. They looked disoriented, but alive. Among them were Carla, the missing children, and the elderly man. Relief coursed through the crowd as families reunited in tearful embraces. The carnival's hold had shattered with the funhouse mirrors. As the sun rose, the townspeople watched in astonishment. The carnival's tents and rides began to fade, as if dissolving into the clearing fog. Torn canvas peeled away. Metal frames rusted in seconds. The Ferris wheel collapsed into dust. By the time the morning light fully warmed the field, only a patch of scorched earth remained. Of the carnival, not a single trace lingered. No debris, no machinery, no sign it had ever been there. The survivors shared stories of how they'd been lured in. Some recalled stepping onto a ride or approaching a booth. Then everything went dark. They'd found themselves trapped in an endless mirrored labyrinth with that tall figure stalking them. Others simply woke in the field after the destruction. The entire town reeled with relief and horror. In the days to come, Moreau Pines tried to return to normal. The missing had returned, though some carried nightmares of the ringmaster's grin. Children refused to sleep alone, haunted by images of funhouse mirrors. Rumors spread that the demon behind the carnival was an ancient spirit feasting on souls. Some townsfolk believed it was banished forever. Others feared it might rise again in some other corner of the world, bringing its cursed carnival to unsuspecting victims. Katrina and Martha became local heroes, credited with rallying the effort that freed everyone. The sheriff, shaken, quietly filed the incident away, omitting the supernatural elements from any official record. The field where the carnival had stood remained barren. Grass refused to grow, leaving a wide circle of scorched dirt. People avoided it, calling it the dead patch. Months later, life moved on, but some nights a heavy fog rolled in from the bayou, blanketing the roads. In that pale gloom, a few residents swore they heard faint carnival music in the distance, calliope tunes drifting on the night breeze. A couple even glimpsed swirling lights far off among the cypress trees, gone in a blink. One evening, a traveler passing through Moreau Pines reported seeing a sign at the roadside reading, "Dandelo's Traveling Carnival, this way." When he followed it, the road led only to a dead-end boat ramp into the swamp. By morning, the sign was missing. No footprints, no carnival. In secret, everyone in Moreau Pines knew that if the carnival returned, it would come again in a creeping fog, with its rides spinning and cotton candy scent filling the air. And somewhere within the funhouse mirrors, that tall figure would smile too wide, waiting to claim new victims. Because once a carnival like that appears, it never truly leaves. It merely waits for the next unsuspecting town to drift asleep, so it can arrive unannounced, beckoning with bright tents and hollow laughter, just as it did in Moreau Pines. And if you ever catch a glimpse of faded tents through a rolling mist, or smell sweet cotton candy where no vendor should be, remember the warning from that small Louisiana town. Don't enter the carnival that arrives in the fog. No matter how inviting the lights, how tempting the rides, the